We have with us the new Volkswagen e-Up. What's new now for the new facelift of the e-Up? Well, apart from what's going on underneath in terms of the technology and the drivetrain, first thing you'll notice is the new Volkswagen logo. It's a little bit more retro looking, and we've seen this before, and it's nice to see it here as well on the e-Up. Of course, things like these headlamps are still quite basic with halogen bulbs, and this is some of the ways how Volkswagen is trying to bring the price down, keep this at a budget entry level. The e-Up is 3.6 meters long, it's 1.5 meters tall, and it weighs about 1,200 kilograms. It's very easy. You only have two trims. You have the standard e-Up, and then you have the style, the one we have here. So what's different with the style? Well, first of all, you get the option to pick either a white or a black roof, which looks really nice in contrast with this red color that you see down here in the body. You also get that color here on the outside rear view mirror. Let's take a look at the back of the e-Up. First of all, it is, again, similar to the regular Up that we know, and things that I like, is this rear hatch, which has the window which goes all the way down, so it's one singular glossy black look, which I think is really funky. All right, let's take a look under the hood. Like I was mentioning before, there is a better battery this time, so the nominal energy capacity of this new battery is 32.3 kilowatt hour. The electric motor generates 83 PS or metric horsepower and 212 newton meters of torque at 2,700 RPM. It's all only front wheel drive, and the WLTP cycle for the claimed efficiency has this rated at about 14.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That gives the range about in the ballpark of 260 kilometers. So the battery is actually tucked away under the floor, which gives this e-Up, and as with most electric cars, a great center of gravity, which is low and wide. To charge it, you have the ports where you would find the regular petrol filler cap. Now, being a petrol head, all these numbers are a bit tricky for me, so I've written them down so I don't get them wrong. So, are you ready? To charge it with a DC fast charger of 40 kilowatts, you can get 80% in 1 hour. So this is great for charging it up early in the morning before you go to work for 1 hour. If you plug in with a 7.2 kilowatt AC charger, you get 100% in 5.5 hours. But if you just want to plug it in at home, then actually it takes about 16 hours. So a full overnight charge to get it up to 100%. Stepping in is fairly easy, again, thanks to this tall body and really large opening. You're sitting also fairly upright. If I were to bring my knees closer towards me, you see that, you know, I have very little gap between my thigh and the seat. So this is a little bit more upright. It's not so low and sporty. So let's take a look at the steering wheel. Very typical Volkswagen, but you have some controls here to navigate through the menu on the instrument cluster. And on the left-hand side, you have some controls for the telephony. You also have a very nice instrument cluster up here. So there is a tachometer on the left-hand side, which actually has a very interesting display. As you can see, there's a blue area, which is kind of the recommended RPM for the electric motor to get the best out of it in terms of range. And there's also a green area which says charge. So you can see how much of charge is being recuperated through the regenerative brakes. And a battery charge level right here on the right-hand side. There's an interesting inlay right here in the middle of the dashboard, which breaks the monotony of this black color. Also a nice E-Up logo, but generally the materials are fairly hard. Now the infotainment system is pretty interesting, and you guys probably already know this, but you have to use it in conjunction with your actual phone. So there is a phone dock on the top where you can run the Maps and More app. There is no handle for me to hold on to. The door is fairly monotone and hard, as you can see. The window also doesn't wind down. It only pops out like that. So yes, quite a lot of cost cutting, but nevertheless, it's not unbearable back here. I have just about enough knee room, I would say. Let's open the hatch, a little button here to release it. It does look like it's all glass, but there is actually a steel or a metal frame. So you get 251 liters of boot space, which is pretty good for a car in this class. Let's start off the driving section of today's episode by driving in the city, where, let's be honest, this car will spend most of its time. First, let's start off with the comfort. And yes, this electric Up weighs about 300 kilograms more than the petrol engine version. But they have stiffened the suspension, and therefore, actually, it's a lot more, the suspension is a lot more adept to this extra weight. And here on the city bumpy streets, you don't feel that stiffness. In fact, it feels really compliant. It feels really plush. It's very comfortable. All the sharp undulations and that you see here on the streets are absorbed really well and do not filter into the cabin. The seats are also really supportive. You are sitting upright, but there's plenty of adjustment for you to find a comfortable position for yourself. And they are very supportive and very soft, and overall, I think, really good seats. They don't have too much of side bolstering and things like that. They're not very sporty, but again, being comfort oriented, I definitely think they are really good. Then let's talk about the visibility. That's also an area where the Up excels in. Because of that upright seating position, you do have really good visibility out the front thanks to this large windshield. Also out the side thanks to these large windows, and even a very large rear view mirror, and this rectangular mirror and the big window really aids in the view out back. It's also really easy to see out the side because the B-pillar is fairly narrow and it's actually just behind your head, so it doesn't obstruct your line of sight. Another thing that aids driving around in the city is the steering wheel. It is very light here at low speeds, so you can easily make quick turns as you navigate through these bends and chicanes and roundabouts. We're out on the highway now, and let's see how the E-Up fares when you need to take it at high speed. First of all, there is the lane keeping assist, which comes as standard, which is really useful when you're out on the highway. It is not you know, the semi-autonomous kind of a feature where it will scan the lanes all the time and try to keep you in the middle. Instead, it's more of like a safety net. So if I were to go close to the edge here, the car will automatically steer me back into towards the center of the lane. But it's not going to track and try to keep me in the middle. So in the end, it's going to kind of ping pong you back and forth. But it's still really useful to have, and I'm glad that it's a standard feature. Getting to 100 is a bit difficult in Eco Plus mode. I think I'll have to go to normal mode, and now it does let me get up to 100. The top speed is 130. Since there is no engine, there is not a lot of noise inside the cabin. In fact, because of the lack of an engine noise, you do hear the wind a little bit more, but on the whole, this cabin is very quiet and very hushed. The tires are also really quiet because they are the more efficient electric car design tires. So overall, a very refined, comfortable cabin. On the highway at higher speeds, even the suspension is really composed. The car feels fairly planted. Because of that low center of gravity of that extra weight from the batteries, you don't feel the car rolling too much as well. The steering also becomes a little bit more heavier at higher speeds. So on the whole, even though this is a city car, you can easily take it out on the highway with no problem at all. The car also feels really planted on the highway thanks to that low center of gravity and that really well set up suspension. It gives you a lot of confidence. The steering wheel also becomes a lot heavier now at higher speeds. So on the whole, this car is very happy to go on the highway. Of course, you have to be careful about the range, and that's, highway speeds are not the best for electric cars, especially city electric cars. But still, if you put it in Eco Plus mode and things like that, it shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, you could do long distances very easily. I think in fact you could do around 250 kilometers on the highway without a problem. So let's summarize today's episode of the new Volkswagen e-Up. The prices for the base variant start at around 22,000 euros, but the style trim that you see here is around 23,000 euros. And at that price, it is really attractive. Yes, the materials on the inside are not the best, the infotainment is a bit hit and miss, and the space in the back seat and the trunk is a bit limited. But it's very comfortable, very composed and quiet. Even out on the highway, it's really maneuverable in tight city spaces, and it's pretty fun to drive on twisting roads as well. So it does look like you can have your cake and eat it too. So let me know, what do you guys think? Is this enough for you to move away from petrol and diesel cars and buy your first electric car? Put it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.